All right. So for question one, in your opinion, having taken this course, is comedy socially progressive or regressive in terms of addressing the social issues we discussed in class?
I say it's progressive
Same.
because
I agree as well.
I feel like it just draws attention to the issue.
Yeah, I feel like, and I also agree with like being socially progressive. Like, I feel like sometimes like the way like things are like said may not be like the best for everyone's audience, but I feel like as a generalized, easy understanding of the topic, like it shows you important social issues in a very easy way to understand. So like if like you're talking like a big issue like how during like the injury episode they're talking about like people who have like actual disabilities versus like a burned foot, for example. They showed how like this small thing, like how someone like the speech someone uses or like the way that they act can really affect someone's like livelihood / well-being, or like, you know, how they actually feel as a person. And I feel like with the comedy, it like displays so many different key aspects of like, this is what can happen if you like do things in this progressively wrong way. So like, don't do that. And then it just makes it like really easy to understand for everyone.
That's true.
I just think that it's like a good platform, you know, like it's not, comedy is not something that is very decisive. Like some people are into it, some people don't. Like everybody sees these things, especially on these major like network television shows. I think it's a really great platform for talking about these issues.
Yeah, and it really helps in just like all the issues for our like units, like the areas of race, gender, sexuality, and all that. Like those are like such big, major, prominent issues, especially right now in society. I feel that like no, and he had like several shows examples of like each one, and it really showed how like this big issue can still be talked about into a way where it makes it like not as big of an issue, and it makes the issue being able to like be judged and like talked about in these more positive ways than like a negative and like rude way.
Yeah.
I think every person also like, can have their differences. I think comedy just kind of everyone can kind of relate to comedy, and they're all, you know, they understand it's a joke per se. Yeah, it's a joke. So they can all like relate, even though they can push past their differences as individual people. So
yeah, and it really like and I feel like, you know, even like we can even look back on like some of the Office episodes, like say like this might not be like quote unquote like the best thing socially right now to put in, but I feel like even if it's not, it still shows so much. And we're like, as people, I feel like we all kind of know like this show was older, it might have said this thing, but it had a great point at the end of the day. It might have had like might have not been said in the best way, but it had like a good point at the end of the day, like dealing with like racism, like even like in The Office, which was made in 2006, like they might have not had the best things about certain races, but at the end of the day, it still made sense, and it kind of showed where we're supposed to be going in society with racial issues.
True. I totally agree with that.
All right. Do you want to move on to the second question?
Yeah.
I have a question. So do y'all want to discuss on how the what else he was talking about in that question?
Louise, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Do y'all want to discuss what else he was talking about in that question? How he was saying like, how do you feel about that comedy writers using topics as social inequalities?
Okay, yeah. Well, I just feel like even though like the writers like they again like how it might not be like displayed in the best way, it still just targets every issue, and it kind of helps bring all the issues to light, even if yeah.
I know what you're saying. Okay, got you. All right. Oh yeah. All right. So we can move to question 2.
All right. So this semester has been filled with complex topics that you may or may not have a direct connection or experience with in your own life and social personality, and it is likely each of you found some profound connection to the course material. For this question, please identify and discuss the issue from the course that has resonated with you the most. Be sure to elaborate on why, yada, yada, yada.
Okay, yeah. I did what show? The show that I chose was Black AF. I think that's one I would choose to connect with me, just because I understand how, I guess, I'm not trying no racist thing or nothing like that, but how Black families act, I guess, as far as like how they because they was doing the show, how the girl was doing the show on there. So they were just acting, they not normal. People thought they not normal when actually they are normal. but just because they got a lot of money, they just think it's not normal at all. So that's how I react, because I got family members like that also. So.
And then like that relates to like you with like the area, like the racial unit. I
Yeah.
think that was unit 3. Yeah, unit 3. Yeah, about like how all the areas of race affect different people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me as well, like I have like the two units that really speak out to me are like the LGBT unit and the black, like the racial inequalities unit. Like I'm both of those like marginalized groups or whatever. So like those are like very much easy for me to understand and connect with me because I can see and understand through my own perspective and see through others' perspective of how this can directly affect someone and change their life or whatever. So it was really like resonated with me a lot because I'm both part of those groups, and it was really easy for me to like do those assignments and everything too because I already knew so much background knowledge, like not by choice, but like like just like how society, like how we just learn things. If you go through it, you probably understand it more. So that really resonated with me, and they were very easy to understand. And I feel like the hardest one for me, not hardest one for me, but like the most like quote unquote eye opening would be like the feminism unit because I like learned even more about like the whole feminism movement and like how like women get treated and like viewed upon by like men and society. And it was just like I already knew most of that stuff, but still like seeing it and like hearing about it from like a woman's perspective is like more eye opening too to understand. So I feel like those are like my comparative, like the easiest and the hardest for me.
For me, it was probably like the financial inequality, like the class stuff, just because that's kind of what I like from where I'm from and stuff like that. That's the most that has related to me coming from being a less wealthy person in a more wealthy area.
Mm-hmm.
Resonated a bit with me. And I feel like the middle out of all the shows, I don't know if that was one that I used a couple times for some of the reflections and stuff, but like the middle kind of like shows that concept of like not being wealthy in a somewhat wealthy area.
Yeah, like the TV show The Middle, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
I don't know, that's just, I feel like a lot of these in some way, like I've learned some from, but at the same time, like I kind of consider myself somewhat of like a knowledgeable person about like world issues and stuff. And some of the stuff, like whether or not I learned about it, it was more about like learning about the severity and more of the intricacies of some of these issues.
Yes.
I related mostly to the social one or the like the social class one because growing up in a military family, we moved all around the world, and it kind of just really interests me how like I've lived in a pretty big house the military gave us, and I lived in like a pretty smaller house, and to see like how these different areas really are so much different. I've lived, I've been to two different high schools where, there was a lot less wealthy kids to a lot more wealthy kids. I think it just relates more to my life because I've seen so much different social class areas and how they deal with it, all that.
Mm-hmm. Everybody good on that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, last question.
Throughout the semester, you were challenged to look at comedies and determine their controversial. Moving forward in life, how do you think the perspectives, theories, and content that you learned in this course will affect the way you watch comedies in the future? And then also, in what ways do you think this course might impact the way you view and interact with people who live life in different ways from you? And what will you do with the insights you gain from this course moving forward? I think like this course has somewhat taught me to view like, so I've watched, for example, The Office. Like I've watched The Office before multiple times. It's one of my favorite shows. And then watching the episodes for this has kind of trained me to look for these types of jokes. Whereas before I was just like experiencing them. This one I was kind of like learning more about the intention and stuff like that, the different topics. And so it's not as much that I will like look at the shows differently because at the end of the day, it's a show to get a laugh. That's the main goal. They also want to bring, attention to these issues. But I think the same way, for example, like if you play a sport, watching that sport, you kind of dissect things more than someone who doesn't, that kind of way.
I totally agree with that. Let me see. Anybody else? Y'all, one of y'all go next.
Yeah, kind of how Nick said, like I'm a little different because like similar to Nick, like I've already viewed like a lot of these shows like on my free time, or even if I haven't, and I've like known about them like in like a social climate way. I'm really into like social issues, social politics. So like seeing these shows, I already knew like how they already have like a specific issue or a target audience, and how like how different shows affect people in different mannerisms, like positive or negative, or how they have a meaning or not. So similarly to Nick, like I watched Gentrified, like that was my favorite show that we kind of watched because I never heard of that one before. But seeing how it like gave these marginalized communities so much, and I could relate to it, and I could understand and learn more. I've kind of already watched shows with like that perspective of like learning about like the issues inside the show, but like seeing it from like a more like specific lens is kind of interesting. But I think with watching shows, I will go back and forth with watching them for a comedic, stress relief purpose, and like also like some shows for like the analytical social view of the show. But it just depends truly on how each show works and how I feel. But I wouldn't like go watch the Grinch movie for like a social climate issue. It could be used for that, but I would probably watch it for my own purposes, just to Christmas or whatever. But yeah.
For the question that says, what ways do you think this course might impact the way you feel and interact with people? I kind of already knew that because I already see in real life, I already see what happens as far as what we was talking about, as far as the racials and gay people and stuff like that. But I also do realize more stuff, I would say. I do realize more stuff. So as far as my impact, it impacted me very well, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to, when you don't know it, when I know it, it's really hard to like say, to answer that question for me. As far as me speaking, it's hard for me to answer that question. Just because I already knew it before then. I already knew all the information before that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll think of and interact with people necessarily differently.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think.
But I don't know. I think I might be more understanding to some of the issues, but I don't think that'll change the way that I interact with people.
Right.
I interact with people respectfully. I think I'm a good person.
I think I'm a good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I think this has also changed my way of like viewing comedies. Like before this class, I definitely just saw comedies as like movies that were just funny, and I never really thought about the social issues of them. Like I was just kind of blind to them. I just thought, oh, something funny, laughed at. But now I kind of like whenever I watch comedy, I kind of think more of how like what they're really talking about. What the real issues in society. Most comedy is about that, like about race, gender, all that. And I think it just definitely shows to me that comedy is not just talking about, not just supposed to be funny. It's also talking about issues in society. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and also like how you guys like all said, like again, like I don't think my views of people will change much because like I've already, again, like how everyone said, like I'm just like I feel like I'm a naturally nice person. I respect people. I don't really have an issue with that. But I think just like learning and seeing how more people like view life and kind of seeing how they can be impacted by like these small or big things that we do in life is just kind of important to see. And I think it just like exposes people's blind eye or like uneducated eye into doing this. So I think that's the only the best part with that is being able to see the different people and how all of it. So
All right, anything else?
I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good overall.